Well, they're big and small, strong and weak, ugly and shifty, beautiful and sleek. They hop, they jump, they slither and slide, come out in the open and they run and hide. It takes all kinds to live in Bug City. Some are weird and some are pretty. Come on down, let's meet in Bug City. Don't let them bug you. City. There's nothing to be afraid of. City. Bugs can be fun. Bug City. We're all friends here. So come on down, let's meet in Bug City with Christina Ricci, Dr. Art.
And don't forget me, Bugsy Seagull.
Imagine a creature not too small but incredibly delicate looking. Now imagine that this fragile being was so strong that it could fly hundreds of miles on a single journey, the equivalent for you or me of covering over 2 million miles on foot. Strong, winged, delicate. Can you guess who I'm thinking of?
Christina, me.
I'm sorry, Bugsy. Did you need a hall pass?
Hall pass? No.
Among this group of insects, most of which are seen only at night, is one with wingspan 14 inches across and another with a tongue that's 1 foot long. And to top it off, their ancestors were flying around looking just like they do today when dinosaurs roamed the earth 100 million years ago.
Psst. I know the answer. I know it. Don't tell me. A dancing poodle, right?
So can you guess who this insect is?
It's easy. It's a butterfly.
Well, thanks a lot, Bugsy. But you're wrong.
I am not. I saw what the answer was before the test. Oh dear.
Poor Bugsy. Cheats and still can't get the answer right. I was talking about moths.
Hey, moths, butterflies, they're the same thing, except the moths are ugly.
Oops, wrong again, Bugsy.
Huh?
How does he do it? Well, actually, Bugsy is almost half right. It must be a personal best for him. Butterflies and moths are close to the same thing. They have very few differences between them. But about the other part, Bugsy, you couldn't be more wrong.
Yeah?
Ugly?
Okay, so I wouldn't lose my lunch. But that's no moth. That's gotta be a butterfly.
Isn't that a beauty, Christina? An atlas moth.
Dr. Art Evans to the rescue. Thank goodness. I'm having trouble with a certain...
Bird brain?
Bird brain?
Thank you, yes. How do we know this is a moth instead of a butterfly?
Well, first of all, most moths are active at night, and butterflies are active during the day. And if we look at the moth's antennae, you can see that they're feathery, but butterflies have thin, thread-like antennae with little clubs on the end. The front and back wings of the moth are usually attached, but the butterfly's wings are free.
Oh, butterflies are free. I like to think of them as birds' little potato chips. Yum.
When moths are resting, their wings are usually folded flat over their back, but most butterflies carry their wings straight over their back. And most moths have furry bodies, just like the atlas moth. What's also interesting about moths and butterflies is what they have in common. The fact that they have these beautiful colors is caused by scales. They're overlapped on their wings like little shingles on a roof. And these colors are used for attracting mates. And they also act to warn predators that they taste bad. Anytime you see a butterfly or a moth that's black and yellow or orange and black, it's telling you, watch out, we taste bad.
They're so beautiful. But tell me, I've heard that butterflies and moths don't live very long, only a couple days. That's not true.
It's not true.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Art.
The vast majority of butterflies and moths live for many weeks, even for many months. Adulthood is the fourth and last stage of the butterfly's complex life. Though this stage is no more important than the three that precede it, it is, to our eyes, certainly the most beautiful.
This fabled creature, with its great bright wings, has just one purpose to fulfill in this stage of life. Its entire being is dedicated simply to finding a mate and reproducing before its time runs out. And high-energy flower nectar is the perfect food to keep them going. Butterflies have a special tool for procuring nectar, a long, tube-like tongue called a proboscis that can probe deep into a flower. This tongue can be curled into a coil and tucked away when not in use. Though they may seem very exotic, butterflies and moths are just ordinary insects, like beetles or bees. Like all insects, they have three body parts: the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. Being insects, they also have two antennae used for touching and tasting. And they have three pairs of legs. The amazing thing about the legs of some butterflies is that their feet actually contain taste sensors to help them find food. Males like this appear to be feeding, but they are actually collecting chemicals which their bodies will turn into pheromones, a special perfume to attract females. Females too produce pheromones. This male is waiting on a female who has released a scent which says she is ready to mate. Courtship for butterflies takes the form of a beautiful and unhurried dance in the air. The stunning colors and patterns of butterflies' wings help potential mates recognize each other. Once mating begins, it may last for several hours. The male and female can sometimes be seen joined like this. When the mating process is completed, males will often gather at the edges of ponds or streams, sipping mineral-rich water from the sand to replenish themselves for further matings. The mated female's work has just begun. She first must find exactly the right leaves on which to lay her eggs, since she may be long dead when this egg hatches and becomes a caterpillar. She sees to its well-being now by laying it on a leaf of its favorite food plant. Butterfly eggs may be laid one at a time, or they may be laid in clusters of amazing pattern and design. Seen close up, the butterfly's eggs are as varied and beautiful as the adults that they will one day become. Several days or weeks after it was laid as an egg, this ungainly creature will eat its way out of the beautiful shell. The butterfly or moth caterpillar literally starts its life by chewing. Its first act as a caterpillar is to spin a silken thread to keep it from falling off the leaf. Its second act as a caterpillar is to devour its abandoned eggshell. Charged up with nutrients from the shell, it now embarks on a feeding frenzy. This is truly a creature with a one-track mind, eating leaves. The caterpillar's sole purpose is eating in order to grow. Its soft body is designed for expanding. When its outer shell, or exoskeleton, can't stretch anymore, the caterpillar molts. That is, sheds its old exoskeleton by crawling out of it, already dressed in a new, roomier exoskeleton. In this stage, the caterpillar is extremely vulnerable to predators, but nature has given it some clever disguises, like these false eye spots, which may fool a bird into thinking the caterpillar is a much larger animal than it is. Other caterpillars have bold stripes and colors announcing to would-be predators that they taste bad or may even be poisonous. Others are bristling with sharp hairs and spines which sting. Then there are those caterpillars so well camouflaged that they don't even resemble the succulent bird food that they are. This one looks like a bird dropping, hardly an appetizing meal. There are some agile caterpillars who get away by jumping away. Whatever its tricks may be, if a caterpillar survives long enough, it will arrive at the third stage of its metamorphosis. This means it will transform again, as completely as it did when it went from an egg to a caterpillar. Now the caterpillar will fasten itself, tail first, to a leaf, and slowly undergo its final molt. When it sheds this last skin, it becomes a different creature altogether, the pupa. Depending on the species, it will hang like this for days or weeks, seemingly inactive and unchanging. But the creature taking shape inside the pupa is so different from the caterpillar it once was that humans consider this one of the most phenomenal transitions in nature.
Now, both butterflies and moths go through a pupal stage, but in the butterflies, the pupa has a special name. It's called a chrysalis. Now, in some moths, the caterpillar spins a silken bag around its body, and that's called the cocoon. And we have a cocoon here of the giant silk moth. And I'm going to carefully cut it open to reveal the pupa inside. And you can see there's a lot of silk there. It looks like paper, but this is actually silk spun by the moth. There we are. That is a moth pupa. And if you look very carefully at the pupa, you can see the head, you can see the feathery antenna, which is characteristic of the moth, you can see its wings folded over its body, and you can see its abdomen, which it's moving. Now the pupa won't die. I'm going to put it right back into its cocoon, and we'll seal it up, and it will emerge in the spring.
The butterfly or moth, as it struggles out, seems at first crumpled and shapeless. But soon, the body will pump fluid into the wings and they will begin to take their regal form. The new proboscis is unfurled and retracted. Finally, the wings are full and hardened. And the beautiful butterfly takes flight, moving off to fulfill its final destiny, the search for a mate and the reproduction of its kind.
In order to survive extremely hot or extremely cold climate changes, certain species of butterflies and moths must travel hundreds, even thousands of miles. Their ability to find their way and to survive this journey is one of nature's greatest wonders.
Dr. Ott, I understand you know where some of these great clouds of butterflies come to rest. And in fact, you went there with our cameras, right?
Hey, wait a minute. Don't leave me out. I've been there. You can ask me anything.
The truth is, anyone can see the monarchs if they're in the right area at the right time of year.
We're here at a eucalyptus grove just north of Santa Barbara to view one of California's largest overwintering monarch colonies. Every year, over 1 million monarchs from as far north as southern Canada migrate to the coast of California to escape the cold winters. What we're going to do today is we're going to walk into this grove, look at the monarchs, and capture some and tag them. We can tag monarchs just like we tag birds. We do this to find out their movements. Where do they come from? Where do they go? And this will give scientists a better idea of how to manage monarch populations to make sure that there are monarchs for generations to come. Now, monarch butterflies don't prefer eucalyptus trees, but they sure like the environment the trees create.
It's warmer, there's lots of moisture, and when they come into the grove, they like to go way up high in the trees. In order to collect some to tag, we'll need a big net. Well, let's take a look at the butterflies. First thing we need to find out is, are they male or female? If you look at the hind wings of the male, you can see two spots. Those are scent pouches, and he releases a chemical called pheromones that act like perfume to attract the females. Here we have the female, and you can see on her hind wings, she doesn't have any scent pouches. So that's how you can tell them apart. The male with the scent pouches on the hind wings, the females without the scent pouches. She doesn't have any scent pouches at all, but look at the veins in her wings. They're much thicker and darker than you have with the male. So again, the male is down below, the female is up above. Now very carefully, we would take the right forewing and we gently scrape away the scales. If you put a butterfly's wing under a microscope, it looks like thousands of tiny little shingles on a roof. That's what gives them their color, and that's the dust that comes off in your hands. Then we take the label, or butterfly tag. Each one has a number. The number is recorded along with the sex of the butterfly. We put the number on top of the wing, so when the butterfly is resting on a tree with a good pair of binoculars, we can read the number without catching it. And if it's tagged properly, we should be able to release the butterfly, and it'll fly away, taking its place with the others in the trees. We can tag up to as many as 6,000 butterflies in a day. And again, we tag them just like birds to find out where they're going, where they've come from, and it helps us learn more about monarch butterflies.
This is a pencil alert. We'll put up a list of things you will need to raise your own monarch butterfly caterpillars at home. Remember, before you begin building your caterpillar habitat, make sure to ask for help from an adult.
Now, to find monarch caterpillars, we have to find milkweed. There are about 100 species of milkweed found in the United States, and I'll bet you have one right near your home. Here's a milkweed plant here, and the best place to look for caterpillars or eggs are underneath the leaves. And as you can see, this plant is covered with the caterpillars of the monarch butterfly. Now, in order to set them up and give them a good home, we'll take an aquarium, a little bit of paper towel on the bottom of the aquarium, and we have a jar with a couple of milkweed branches, and we will put some water into the jar. Now, the important point here is to make sure you stuff some cotton at the opening of the jar. Monarch caterpillars aren't very smart, and you don't want them to drown in the water. The next thing to do is collect the caterpillars very gently from the plant without squishing them, and just set them down on the cotton. They'll walk right up the branches. Now, it's very important that you replace the milkweed branches every few days. You don't want them to get wilted. You want them to be nice and firm, because that's the only kind of leaves that the caterpillars like. Then all you have to do is put the branches inside your terrarium, and you can take the lid and just snap it right on, and you have a caterpillar cage. Now, in about 3 weeks, the caterpillars will grow up, and then they'll turn into these beautiful chrysalids that you see right here. Now, the chrysalid, or the pupal stage for the monarch butterfly, will last about a week. Pretty soon you'll see they'll go from a green color to clear, and you'll begin to see the colors of the monarch butterfly. After about a week, the adult monarch will emerge, and they are absolutely beautiful. And of course, when your butterflies emerge, take them outside and let them go.
They look too beautiful to eat, but I'm dreaming, aren't I?
I'm afraid so. They're very popular food items, especially with birds, but monkeys also eat them, and so do praying mantises and spiders.
Naturally. What don't spiders eat?
We forgot to mention humans. We kill a lot of moths and butterflies ourselves.
Yep, we've actually been responsible for putting butterflies like this birdwing on the endangered species list, mostly through destruction of the places where they live. But there's another reason humans snatch caterpillars, one we don't know much about in North America.
So, Dr. Art, where are we talking about here? A faraway exotic land, maybe? Somewhere where you might need an experienced tour guide? A bird of the world?
Asia mostly, many parts of Africa too.
Huh? Hey, I'm there. Give me 10 seconds. I'm a bird. I'm a plane. I'm a super gull. I mean, if Dr. Art wants weird stuff with worms, I'm his bird. They're
called caterpillars, Bugsy, not worms.
Well, okay, then the early bird catches the caterpillar, right? I don't care.
Kids, I think I know what Dr. Art has in mind. You might want to watch the next part like this.
When caterpillars like these arrive, it's a happy occasion for villagers. These caterpillars are not crop pests. In fact, they're kind of a crop themselves. Those plump bodies are loaded with food value, and they are considered delicious when dried. In some parts of Africa, these caterpillars, called mapani worms, may provide up to 1/3 of the protein consumed by humans. In Thailand, these so-called bamboo worms, which are actually moth caterpillars, are popular food items whenever they are in season. Year after year, tons of them are harvested, steamed, and sold as food in marketplaces.
Dr. Art, we seem to have left out my very favorite use of moths by humans, the production of silk.
Wow, that dress is really beautiful.
Thank you.
It is incredible stuff. Do you know there is no way of making real silk like this except by cultivating silkworms? Isn't that amazing? In this day and age, that no man-made cloth can compare to what moth larvae produce by spinning their cocoons. The Chinese discovered their magic more than 5,000 years ago.
By experimenting, the Chinese found that one moth pupa in particular spun especially productive cocoons out of very strong but superfine, featherweight fibers. They are the caterpillars which today we call silkworms. The Chinese so thoroughly domesticated these caterpillars by growing and feeding them the special mulberry leaves they eat that silkworms no longer survive in the wild at all. When the cocoon of a silkworm is unwound, it can produce a single thread a half-mile long. These threads are collected, dyed, and woven into the cloth we now prize as silk.
Now it's time for Factualities. The host of your show, Bugsy Seagull. Ta-ta-da! Did you know that some moths have ears on their abdomen or on their thorax? Wow. And did you also know that there are 11,000 different kinds of butterflies and moths in the United States and Canada? That's a lot of moths and butterflies. Hey, did you ever hear about the hawk moths? They've been clock flying in at 33 miles an hour. That's fast. And also, I'll tell you something. This you've probably never heard before. A caterpillar may have over 4,000 different muscles. Well, that's something because humans only have 792. And that, folks, about moths, and butterflies are my factualities.
That's all the time we have for today's Bug City. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
Christina, you mean as much as we did?
Yes, you're right.
I'm always right.
Bye-bye. We look forward to seeing you again soon.
So long, everybody.